there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Am I the jerk for kicking out Karen and her baby after she tried to take advantage of me? After that, shady boss lies about me to my coworkers. I have her fired and in debt for several years after. And after that, tell me to eat somewhere else? Okay, you will regret this. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen gets kicked out. But where will I go? So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Am I the jerk for kicking out Karen and her baby after she tried to take advantage of me? Me, 22 male, and Mac, 22 male, have a mutual friend, 25 female, who is pregnant. Her parents refused to help her, and she's been homeless for most of her pregnancy. Me and Mac helped her with some cash here and there, but not much. She's been staying with friends and homeless shelters for women for months now. Mid-June, she asked us to let her stay at our place. She told us that the shelter she was staying at was overcrowded and she needed a week at max to find another one. Mac and I agreed. 1 week turned into 1 month, so we decided to talk to her. We told her that she's gonna have to either start pitching in or she needs to leave soon. She finally fessed up to everything. She wasn't able to work anymore and she has no money and she was scared to be in the shelter this late in the pregnancy. She told us that the father of the baby would help her only after the baby was born. She told us that she would get child support and that should be enough to move. She offered to do chores around the house in the meantime. Her due date was only 15 days away, so we agreed. In the following week, she didn't help with anything, stating her pregnancy is the reason. One day, she and Mac got into a fight. Mac was asking her about the father and when she will move out, and she blurted out that she is a tenant now, as she's been staying here for more than a month and that we can't make her leave. Evictions are on hold due to everything going on. Turns out, her plan was to stay here long enough to get recognized as a tenant and stay here infinitely. Edit. She lied about child support too. She doesn't know the father. We called the landlord. We have a good relationship with him. After yelling at us for being stupid, he offered to forget about the notice period and advised us to move by the end of the month. He had another empty apartment in the same building for us. We told her the same. We immediately told her that we were leaving by the end of the month. We can't evict her, but there is nothing stopping us from moving. After that, we just ignored her. She gave birth in the beginning of August, right after we moved out. Landlord told her that if she has been staying here for more than a month, then she is a tenant, and she's on the hook for the full rent once we leave. He also got her to sign the standard monthly rental agreement for the apartment. While he cannot evict her if she doesn't pay rent, he promised to sue her for rent when everything is over. She is also having a ton of medical bills from giving birth. She's probably unable to afford the utilities bill. She is constantly trying to come over or call us, sometimes to apologize, sometimes to ask for help. We have refused to even talk to her. I saw a very similar story, and I thought I would post mine and see what everyone thinks. Am I the jerk? Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or is Karen? Please let us know. Did we really have to start off with such a sad story? Shady boss lies about me to my coworkers. I have her fired and in debt for several years after. This happened back in 2011 to 2012, when I was the ripe old age of 19 years old. This is a long one, so do strap in. I got a part-time job at a fast food place specializing in subs. Not Subway, but very similar, when I was 17. It was located in the town's mall and was fairly busy. It's a national chain where I'm from. When I started there, the owner at the time was really nice, and she started that branch in my town. She was very strict on following all of the cleaning requirements and took real pride in her shop. The way it was set up financially was that the franchise taker basically had to work from open to closing, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., to even have a chance at making a decent living, and preferably only have one part-timer helping for a few hours when it was at its busiest. It's like the MLM of fast food. Why anyone would take on such a business wager is beyond me, but I digress. However, the owner actually managed to make money off it. A year or so after I started, the owner decided she would move to a different part of the country and sell her branch and have someone else take over. That lucky individual was my coworker who was 3 years older than me. From now on, boss lady. She had worked there since it opened and was the natural choice to move up the ladder. Because she didn't have the money to pay for the share in the franchise, about $5,000, and nobody else was willing to pay that and have to work their butt off for minimal revenue, headquarters allowed her to take over while they bought the old owner out, and headquarters kept the share. Now, Boss Lady had no idea how to run a mile, much less a business, and small things started happening quite soon after she took over. I would normally work there after school by myself, but she would often hang around the mall when she had finished work. Boss Lady always complained about how little money she made and would often come by when me or the other part-timers were working and tell us to give her $20 to $100 right out of the register. Considering total daily sales never reached more than about $1,200, that was a lot. I barely made $12 an hour, so my motivation was too low to care, and neither did the rest of the part-timers, so we complied and gave her the money. My spider sense was tingling a bit, telling me it was fishy to grab money right out of the register, even if she was the owner. But if she wanted to dig her own grave, that was fine by me. I was friends with Boss Lady, and we would hang out and often hung out on the weekends, and we worked Saturdays together, which meant we would go out on Friday nights, we would drink, and work the next day hungover. Oh, to be young. I would only go out during the weekends and never missed a day of work, no matter how hungover I was, and Saturdays were the only days I would be hungover. Besides school and work, I was in a dance company and had dance classes every day, mostly after 7 p.m., but a few days I had them earlier and couldn't work no matter what. This is important. Every night we would count the register, leave $100 in change and small bills for the next day, and deposit the rest in a safe at the mall. I'm not entirely sure because it's been a long time, but I do believe Boss Lady would tell us to take the difference out of the $100 for the register, somehow believing the money would magically show up the next day. After a while, we started having problems with the distributors. We were not allowed to order on credit and had to go to the bank to pay the bills in person, etc. After that, things started getting really weird, and Boss Lady refused to let us make the cash deposits at night, insisting that we put the money bags in one of the cabinets inside the shop, which after a month or two culminated to a lot of cash. We had also had trouble a few months with getting paid on time. Since I worked the most out of all of the part-timers, I had the biggest salary, and the people who administered pay decided to pay the smaller checks first. This girl had bills to pay, so that did not sit well with me. I was also the hardest worker out of us all, Boss Lady included. Then one lovely Tuesday while I was at school, one of the other part-timers asked me to cover her shift, to which I said I wasn't able to because not only did I have back-to-back dance classes, I also had a paper to write for school. Later that night, I got a text from the girl saying, "If you were hungover, you could have just said so. You don't have to lie." And I'm like, "Excuse me? I don't drink on school nights, and there's no way I would have had the time to do so last night with dance class right after work and working on my paper." To which she just answered, "Yeah, sure. Boss Lady told me you were out last night." The funny part is, this was a fairly small town, so there's nowhere to go on weeknights. So even if I wanted to break my own rules and party on a school night, I couldn't. This really upset me, and I figured I would stop playing nice and saving Boss Lady. Cue the revenge. One day out of the blue during summer, Boss Lady declared she was going to go on a last-minute 2-week vacation to the States and told me to take care of the shop while she was gone. I said fine, but would like more notice next time. I also asked her how she paid for it, considering she wasn't able to take out any salary from the shop, and she just said, "Oh, I had some savings." I just thought, that's weird, considering you actually don't make money, but didn't say anything. The first day I was in charge, headquarters called, and the conversation went like this. Headquarters: "Hey, is Boss Lady around?" Me: "No, she took a last-minute vacation to the States and put me in charge. Didn't she tell you?" Headquarters: "No, she did not indulge that information, but maybe you can help me. Do you know what happened to all the cash deposits from the past few months?" Me: "Yeah, they're in one of the cabinets here. Boss Lady told us not to deposit them. She even yelled at me when I was about to, because I felt really uncomfortable knowing we had what must have been more than $15,000 lying around in the shop, and gave me an excuse about having to look them over." Headquarters: "Are you serious?" Me: "Sure am. What should I do?" "I know the previous owner is in town. Maybe you can call her and ask if she can come help you. She knows what's what, and please deposit all the cash today." Me: "Sure, no problem. I'll look over all the cash bags to see how much there actually is and make sure they're all there and deposit them ASAP." And we hung up. I called the old owner and told her what was up, and she sounded really surprised and was there within 10 minutes. Together, we quickly looked over all the cash but didn't count it. They were in these little pouches that had a form at the front where you filled in how many of each bill and coin was in it, so we figured the right amount would be in each bag. They weren't sealed because Boss Lady had told us not to seal them before putting them in the cabinet. I then put them all in a bag and discreetly made my way over to the safe where we deposited them. It was on the other side of the mall, and the mall was open, so my heart was racing. I felt like everyone knew I was carrying a load of cash. The old owner started asking me if we kept up with the cleaning requirements, and I answered truthfully that boss lady never told us to do any of the time-consuming stuff, like the ice cube machine, saying that we would have to do that after closing and she didn't have the money to pay us for the extra hours, so she said she would do it on the weekends herself. Old owner just shrugged and told me she had to leave. Since I was all alone in the shop and it was fairly quiet, I started looking around for things to clean. This was around 4 p.m. I quickly realized that she had never cleaned anything like she said she had. Under the fridges and workbench, there were layers of dirt. The water tank in the ice cube machine was green with algae. The cooling fans in the refrigerators were covered in mold. I started cleaning, but quickly realized this would require my full attention, so I closed the shop early. I called the old owner and she supported my decision and called the mall manager for me to let them know what was up. I have never cleaned that much in my life. I scrubbed everything. I pulled all the refrigerators out and scrubbed thoroughly behind everything. What took the longest was the ice cube machine. I wasn't done until 11 p.m. that night. Being the petty jerk I am, and being upset boss lady went on vacation with the shop in the state it was, I took pictures of everything before I started cleaning and sent them all to the food safety agency, telling them that nothing had been cleaned for over a year. I also got to clock all the hours I spent cleaning, getting an okay from headquarters. Looking back now and seeing how little I was paid, I would have just not cared, but at the time I was afraid people would get sick from eating the food. The next day, I called the old owner and all the part-timers asking them to meet at my place, saying we needed a staff meeting without boss lady and now was the chance. They all came and we started talking, telling me what boss lady had done when they were working together and other things that they had observed her doing. I took notes, and later that night, I wrote a 7-page document listing all of the things she knew she did wrong and how we suspected she was stealing money from the shop, etc. And I emailed it directly to headquarters. He emailed me back saying he would look into it. Headquarters called me a few days later, thanking me for notifying him about all of the things she was doing and told me that when the cash was registered, the amount listed on the form and the amount in the pouches weren't the same, and asked me if I knew where it had gone. A light went off, and I realized the savings boss lady had used to pay for her trip was actually money she had taken from the pouches, and that's why she wouldn't let us seal them. I told him as much, and he said he would dig a little. When boss lady came back from vacation, she seemed very stressed. I acted like nothing had happened when she was gone, but chuckled when she opened the cash cabinet and saw that all the money was gone, and her face turned so white she was almost see-through, but she said nothing. She was in the back most of the day on her phone and came out asking me if I could cover for her the next few days as she had to go to headquarters for a last-minute meeting. Headquarters was 8 hours away. I agreed and went home. Over the next few days, I was seething with excitement to find out what had happened. When she came back, she tried to play it cool and said, "I've decided to quit. I feel like doing something different, so I'm just working until the end of the month, and then I'm leaving." And I just acted sorry and oblivious. I knew the old owner was kept in the loop by headquarters, and she told me what had really happened. Boss lady had met with headquarters, who had questioned her about the missing money and lack of cleaning, etc. There was more, but this is already longer than the Bible. She had denied it all at first, trying to pin it on us, and saying she had suspected someone was stealing the money and that's why she didn't deposit it, etc. But eventually broke down and admitted it all. She was then given the option of quitting and paying them back all the missing money in installments or having charges pressed against her. She obviously chose the former. Personally, I would have pressed charges no matter what, but they wanted to help her out because I guess they understood she was in a bit of a tough situation with not making any money at the shop and also didn't want it to blow up in the media. I kept working there for a few months, but quit because I found a job that paid more. Word spread about what boss lady had done, so she really struggled to find a new job to pay what she owed, since no one trusted her. She eventually did, but had to pay them back for several years later. We did not keep in touch. Guess she shouldn't have lied about me to my coworkers. Have you ever had a boss who you knew was doing something wrong? If so, what did you do about it? Please let us know. Tell me to eat somewhere else? Okay, you will regret this. So about a year ago, in late June, I started working for a resort restaurant that also manages one of the main pools and pool bars next door. I hadn't worked in a restaurant environment beforehand, which my previous boss knew. So a few weeks after I was hired, he started scheduling me to work by the pool bar, saying it'd be an easy way for me to adjust to the job and learn new skills. He ended up being right, because I ended up learning how to be a server, just by helping out the guests lounging by the pool and the bartenders I worked with. One of the bartenders was a lady named Kiki, who will be important later in the story. Did I mention I worked outside? Let's just say I have crazy respect for those who work outside all day during the summer. It was always hot and humid where I worked, and we didn't have many methods of staying cool. I also wasn't exactly adjusted to being on my feet 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, so my legs and feet were in pain a lot of the time. My shifts always started at 11 a.m. with lunch rush starting about half an hour afterwards, right on the dot. Orders would fly into the bar and out to their tables for nearly 2 hours, finally slowing to a stop at around 2 p.m. I'd always chosen to take my lunch break, which I'm allowed to do, at this time inside the building because I'm irritable in many ways and need to recharge. At the resort I work at, there isn't really a such thing as a break room. If employees want to eat, their only options are either to eat at their stations/offices, eat at whatever fast food place they had time to go to, or eat at the employee lunchroom at the back of the main building. The bar didn't really have a place to eat where you weren't in the way or seen by customers, so I'd always choose to eat at the lunchroom. It offered free food for the staff, a place to sit, and AC, all of which I desperately needed during my break. So whenever I finished dealing with the lunch rush at the pool, which normally ended around 2 p.m., I'd go to the lunchroom, make a plate, and sit down and start eating and watch videos until my break was over. Well, one day, that suddenly changed. I came to the lunchroom a little later than usual one day, and the room was vacant aside from a few ladies cleaning the floors and tables. One of the ladies, who I'll call Lunch Lady, noticed me appear in the doorway, and before I could say or do anything, she exclaimed, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but we're closed." I kind of jumped a little because it came as a surprise and apologized before kindly asking if I could still maybe eat there just for a few minutes. She refused, repeating that, "The lunchroom is closed, and I'm not allowed to let anyone in here until we reopen at 4. It was 2 p.m. at the time, and if I wanted to eat, I could make a plate and take it to my office like everyone else does. I shyly explained that I worked outside by the bar, that it's difficult for me to eat outside. I get nauseous in the afternoon, and I don't know where else I could go. I asked again, even adding that I'd clean up after myself and only need a few minutes. She again refused, said that I should have come earlier, and then said I could sit at a table in the hallway if I really needed a place to eat. I politely declined, to which she responded, "Well, I'm sorry, but I can't let you eat here. You can eat anywhere else but here. If I made an exception for one person, I'd have to do it for everyone, and then I'd get in trouble. Do you understand?" I just quietly nodded and excused myself. I'm really not a confrontational person and would rather crawl into a rock than argue with someone. And at the time, she did say it was a rule, so what was I going to do about it? I ended up talking to a few of the servers I worked with, and one told a story about a confrontation she had with a lunch lady the other day. She explained how she wasn't feeling well and wanted to rest in the lunchroom for a moment, just to calm down and relax, but was completely denied by lunch lady. She explained how she didn't have anywhere else to go, and it would only be for a moment, but lunch lady kept insisting it was against the rules even when the server started tearing up. So it was pretty clear I wasn't going to argue. I didn't think to talk to my bosses about it either because, in my mind, they'd probably just tell me that they can't do anything about it, and I should just go there earlier too. So I tried my best to get there on time, but due to the lunch rush, I wasn't always so lucky. Most times I was too late, but other times, even when I was on time, they'd kick us out right at 2 p.m., whether we were finished or not. I tried for weeks to get there at a decent time, but wasn't so lucky. So I thought, well, she said I could eat anywhere, right? I've seen employees eat wherever they wanted to, even in storage rooms. So I thought wherever I chose wouldn't matter, right? So I found a comfy secluded wooden bench in the female employee bathroom. To be more accurate though, it was the locker room the bench was in, but that locker room was connected to the bathroom, so everyone considered it to be the bathroom. I really didn't care too much, as long as not many people saw me, which during 2 p.m. was pretty common. Even when people did see me, no one asked. For the first few months I worked, I didn't really talk to much of the staff outside my department, so most people who saw me ignored me. I did this for about a month before someone finally noticed. This is when Kiki appears in the story. Up to this point, I always felt somewhat intimidated by her because she always looked frustrated and she didn't look too patient with her new hires. But after this, I started realizing that on the inside, she's a kind of motherly woman who is only stressed out because of her job. Kiki was heading to the bathroom and was just passing by the bench I was sitting at before she noticed me, then the plate of food on my lap. She stopped in her tracks, and her expression turned from tired focus to a bizarre kind of confusion. "What are you doing?" she asked in a quiet, confused voice. "Eating lunch," I replied casually. "Why are you eating here? Why not eat in the lunchroom?" I explained the conversation I had with Lunch Lady and what she told me. Kiki's face got red. It was red already, but now it was visibly getting redder and redder like a sunburn slapped her face. I noticed this along with the awkward silence and added that, "I'm okay with this though. I've done it for a few weeks already." That wasn't the best thing to say because she said, "No, this isn't okay. Pick up your stuff and we're going to talk to this lady." I sheepishly did as I was told and just followed her. Lunch Lady was there, as she always was, cleaning up a dark lunchroom on her own, and we came around the corner. Kiki started arguing with her about why she wouldn't let one person into the lunchroom, why she wouldn't even compromise, how the rules are crud, and then said, "Did you even know that this girl was eating in the bathroom for a month because you told her that she couldn't eat here?" Lunch Lady's face looked like a mixture of confusion, shock, and pity, but she kept explaining that, "If I made one exception, I'd have to make more." Kiki then noticed two things. The first was that the lunchroom was completely dark and almost empty aside from one lady in the corner, which was the second thing she noticed. No one was really lining up to get into the closed and dark lunchroom. The lady was on her phone, but then started looking over at us as the conversation continued. "What's the problem with letting one person eat here for just 30 minutes? We're both working outside and we deserve some time inside. So why can't you make an exception here? If cleaning is the issue, then she," referring to me, "can clean up after herself. She's clearly old enough to know how to do it, 22 at the time, and you've already got one person in here already, so what's the harm in one more?" Lunch Lady was about to argue again until the lady in the corner chimed in. "It's okay, Lunch Lady, she's free to sit in here and eat." So that's what I did. I sat, ate, talked to the lady in the corner, cleaned, and left when I was done. The lady who was there turned out to be one of the managers of the resort, and she was very nice and warm to me. The next day, I wasn't turned away. Or the next day. Or the next week. I was never told to eat anywhere else again after that. Lunch Lady, who used to patrol the room long after it closed, wasn't there as much anymore after that. She wasn't fired, as I saw her much later, but I suspect management decided to adjust the rules. I didn't need to go there after summer had ended and the pool bar closed, so I never found out how much had changed. I still find it funny how I just followed the rules, not trying to be malicious, and ended up proving a point regardless. I'm a bit more comfortable with confrontation than I was before now. The best breath I ever took. So I went to my old job today to handle some business, not related to work at all, because they're the closest place I could go to deal with what needed to be done. I walk in and handle my business, chatting with the only ex-coworker I still talk to. My old manager comes out when she hears I'm there and greets me in her sickeningly sweet voice that's so fake it hurts. Now, before I share the conversation, here's some backstory. The company provides handouts, flyers, and signage for all sales and promotions. However, once my manager found out how skilled I am in design, she would have me create personalized promotion materials for our store. Not to toot my own horn too much, but they were quite successful. To make everyone's life easier, I created multiple files that needed extremely simple edits that could be used for just about any occasion. So if I was not in when they were needed, anyone could make the changes. I also made files for personal touches, like thank yous to customers for using our services that were made for weddings, birthdays, funerals, etc. All in, I had made roughly 50 files for these uses. They were my personal creations that were in no way tied to the company, and in truth, I believe the company forbade stores from doing such things since they gave us promotional materials approved for use. I was never given any credit for my work, and was even told to my face during my review that netted me a lovely 1% raise, company average was 5%, that my work was nothing that she or someone else couldn't have done, so it didn't justify a raise. So here's the conversation as it transpired. Manager will be known as Karen. Karen: "Hey, Thunder Sir 3D. Long time no see." Me: "Hi, yes, it's been a while." Karen: "Well, I was gonna call you, but I didn't want to get you in trouble at your new job. I had a question for you." At this point, I'm rolling my eyes and finally fully turn to face her. "Remember all those files you made for sales and such? Well, we can't find them on the computer. We wanted to use them for such and such sale. What folder did you put them in?" Cue a huge smile under my mask. Me: "Well, as I created those files, When I left, I deleted everything that was mine from the machine. Why would you delete them since we used them all the time? You made it quite clear that my work was unappreciated and nothing I did was special. As you felt that way, I didn't think you needed my files for use, since it was apparently something that anyone could do. Karen, this is a serious problem. You deleted our work files without permission. Me, actually, I deleted my files. I created every last one of them. Not one was created by the company, nor were they approved for use by anyone higher than you. There's nothing wrong with me deleting anything that was made by me for my personal use. Besides, there was nothing that you or anyone else couldn't produce, right? Stunned silence. Me. However, if you want those files, I can give you my designer rate for each one and you can submit them as a store expense. I'll be happy to recreate them for you once I have a paid invoice for the work. You have my number, so let me know. I said see you later to my coworker and walked out. The breath of fresh air never felt more satisfying as the door closed behind me. Entitled sister says I'm wasting our mom's money even though it's mine. My older sister, the entitled person, she's 28, has always had something against me, 17, female. She's always said that I'm the favorite child and that I'm a spoiled brat. She thinks I'm the favorite because our mom and I are always doing stuff together, like watching movies and TV shows and going out to big shopping centers together, and saying I'm a brat because I have all these new clothes, I'm a cosplayer, and how that's wasting all mom's money. 1. Mom and I are always doing stuff together because we have common interests, and she's made the effort to watch some anime with me because I think she might enjoy a certain show. 2. I have in total maybe 20 cosplay items, counting wigs and uniforms and all that. And out of all of it, Mom only bought me 3 or 4 things even after I insisted that I pay. 3. The money I get is all from saving up cans. Yes, those 10 cents all go towards my hobby that I'm very passionate about. And Mom totally supports me because she sees how happy it makes me and will be there if I ever need any help. But when my sister was my age, she would be distant from the family and treat Mom with such disrespect. Even now, she continues to boss Mom around and even started stealing from me. A couple months ago, she stole around 7 bags of cans, which would have been 50 to 60 bucks, which isn't much to some people, but for me, that was a huge dent in my allowance of getting my cosplays. Mom has tried talking to her about it, but she keeps seeing her actions as okay. She's done worse things throughout my life, but this post is already long enough. After all she's done, I've just started distancing myself from her. What should I even do about her? Edit. First of all, thank you to everyone that gave me some advice. I really appreciate it. I've been trying to avoid my sister, and it's kinda easy since she moved out. The thing is, she's always like this, even though she has 2 kids and a wedding to worry about instead of her little sister. Reminder, my sister and her fiance both have stable jobs and don't have any money struggles. Meanwhile, I'm still unemployed with no income at all. I know that there's the chance that she might have needed a couple extra bucks, but seriously? Stealing from her little sister? How I get my cans is saving up from home and sometimes walking all around my town with big bin bags to pick up all of the stray cans, bottles, etc. And I have tried talking to Mom about it, and she's still a pushover for my sister. A few years back, my sister was the queen bee of the house and always bossing poor Mom around, saying that she had to do this and can't do that. Mom's still kind of like that, but I told her that she doesn't have to keep asking me if she can do stuff, but she forgets. Recently, my sister found my TikTok account and started yelling at me about how I'm a spoiled brat and how I have it easy, even though she knows my bad past and that I hate getting stuff in general because I've grown the mentality that I don't deserve it at all because of her. This caused me to have a panic attack and delete all my videos, which I highly regret now. But I've started cosplaying and uploading again. I saw that someone said I should do something with her so we can have even ground. Thanks, but it won't work. My sister judges every little thing about me. I can't like or do the smallest things without having her say something about it. Example, when my sister was younger, she was into Sailor Moon, but grew out of it. Then I found the old anime, and it's my favorite and my comfort show. She says that liking it and anime in general is stupid and childish. Even though her fiance is into anime, I want to have a good relationship with my sister since I've been separated from my family for a long time, and I just want to be like a normal family. But even if my sister is like this, I still have a pretty great relationship with my mom and older brother, both of whom I'd call my best friends. No, my coffee is always free. This happened about 7 years ago when I was working at the local convenience store. We've got the crazy lady and we've got the coworker. I got in around my normal 11 p.m. time and settled in for a slow night of training with my coworker who was on his last day with the company. Things were quiet and going pretty smoothly until around 1 a.m. Steve and I were jamming to some classic rock, but turned it off when Karen enters. A small, frail-looking lady in about 20 jackets comes in carrying a duffel bag. She set the bag next to a shelf, which sat behind the register. I couldn't see the bag, so at first I didn't even notice it was behind me. Karen went straight to the self-serve coffee and pulled out a coffee mug from underneath one of her jackets. She seemed out of it, talking to herself and muttering under her breath, but I'd be out of it too at 1 a.m., so I let Karen just do her thing. Until her bag starts to bark. I'm confused as heck, since I hadn't seen her place down the bag and certainly didn't think there would be a dog inside. My coworker lets Karen know that we don't allow animals inside the store and she'll have to take him outside. This is as close as I can remember to what was said. Karen: "But I don't have a dog." Coworker: "Lady, we can hear it barking. It wants out of the duffel bag." "I'll let it out, but it's not my dog, just my bag." Coworker: "Well, regardless of who owns the dog, you brought it in, so you'll have to take it out." "Fine, I'll just take my coffee and go then, since you don't want me here." "Okay, so it'll be $1.50 for the coffee refill. Thanks for understanding." At this point, I can see Karen shaking with rage. Her eyes may have well rolled back into her head. "No, my coffee is always free." Steve: "No, it's not. All refills of drip coffee are $1.50. "But he said I could have it for free." "Take it up with the big man, not me. I get mine for free." Coworker: "Who are you talking about? There's just been my coworker and I." "What big man?" "I don't want to say. That man upstairs. He told me." Coworker: "Lady, this is a one-floor building. We don't have an upstairs." God told me in a dream that I could come here and always have free refills. Are you going to tell God no?" At this point, my coworker had enough and told her just to go. But if she came back, we would call the police on her. I never saw her again. Well, in that store anyway. Dog seemed fine when she took it out of the duffel bag. It was a small Pomeranian. Please come watch this video next. You will love it. And if you join as a channel member today, we'll give you a special shout out on our next video. And to have us make any kind of video you'd like us to, just come visit us on Fiverr. Link pinned in the comments below.